There are a couple of welding projects that I've been having my eye on, and I wanted to jump in with a beginner DIY that is actually inspired by a restoration hardware piece that I have that's not even metal. I'm literally going to weld this and show you how to DIY this. And we're gonna do it with a little help from our friends over at Cricut. Mr. Brett from Skull and Spades is the one that will be showing me welding, has been the one that has showing me welding, and I am falling more and more in love with it. We're gonna stick to the simple tack welds, and we are gonna be working with 1.5 inch angle iron. There you guys go, that's it.
Frame's done.
And then it's done. Mr. Brett from Skull and Spade, whose channel will pop up here on a card for you and be linked down below, has been more than gracious enough to stoke the flame of my fire for welding. What an aggressive sentence, but that's how I feel about this new welding journey of mine. Right now, we are only using one power tool, and that is an angle grinder. Feel free to get frisky with the measurements, but for one 10-foot piece, Brett and I came to the conclusion that we can do a 2x3 piece of art, which ironically will fit exactly where I need it to surprise Miss Jade later in this video. On the 2-foot pieces, after I cut the piece of the 10-foot piece down to the 4 pieces that we need, wow, let that not confuse you. On those 2-foot pieces, on each end, we are gonna be cutting out a small little square, and it doesn't look like it's a type of a joint, but when we butt it up and weld it, you'll see that it's just gonna make our lives a lot easier, and it's just like a level up of basic welding, just tacking the corners together that we can do to kind of progress within the welding world is kind of how Brett explained it to my brain. I understand that we're just cutting metal right now, but something I need to let you guys know is I have always been intimidated by the angle grinder, and I thought it'd be more intimidating using it on metal, and it's not. I just watched Brett use his patience and his passion to kind of just slice through the metal a little bit by little bit using this like downward motion and always staying downward with the tool, it seemed like, for the majority of the time. So I just copied what he did, and I swear to God, this new fire of, oh, I can do this, popped in, and then this love took over of, oh, I wanna get this thing done today. After I made my cuts, I went in with a different disc, a flap disc, and I'm going to be cleaning up the metal. Now, I learned later, my brain wasn't thinking about it now, but you are cleaning up the connections to make a cleaner weld, a stronger weld, not a dirty weld. Even though we like dirty sometimes, we don't like it here.
That just sits. Boop.
Boom, ding, ding, ding. We got it.
Easy.
We have welded once before on this channel with Brett, and that is the light fixture that I love so much, and we're doing the same type of welding, which is a tack weld. It's nothing crazy. This is not my machine. It is such a gift to be able to live right down the street from Maker Ranch and utilize the bigger tools that they have on hand that I do not quite yet, but I will be investing in my own machine once I have my workshop up and running. The best way to explain welding to me is to just dive in and get the actual feel for it. It is like using a metal hot glue gun. It's really not intimidating. It is not scary. It just looks that way.
That's it.
We did it! Yay! It's a frame. Oh boy, off screen, let me tell you, I took quite a little stumble with a glass in hand, and the glass penetrated my left thumb pretty deep. So you're gonna see a helper come in, but that doesn't mean that I don't know how to do what I'm doing. It just means I was injured, and I had a very nice gentleman help me with the remaining of the DIY. So you're gonna see a special guest. Anyways, back to the DIY at hand. You guys remember when I glued like nobody's business? Do not do this, do not do this, do not do this, do not do this. My clamps hate me now. Same type of flap disc that we use to clean up the metal to weld it together is the same thing that we're using, just a brand new one, to get all that dirty weld off and make it nice and smooth. I tried my hardest, but my thumb literally just it just didn't work. It was so stupid of me to try to push through with an injury. So I had some muscle, and he helped me with the remaining, just standing up. Look at me get nervous as I'm talking and watching this edit back. You can kind of see where the metal is dirty and where it is clean, and where the clean portion is, that's what you want all the corners to look like. So we just took our time, sanded it down until it was nice and pretty. Instead of welding with brass as a beginner, Brett showed me this DIY to make the steel look like brass, and that's by using a torch, heating up the metal quite a lot, and then using a power drill with a brass brush attachment to then basically melt the brass onto the steel to make it look like brass. That's what we're doing here. It just takes forever. Take forever.
Oh my God. Is there a better way?
No, this is the way. It was not fun being injured and having to really not do anything since my hand was just the worst, but it was really cool how the week ended up working out where Mystery Gus was in town, and then Jade came over in the middle of me doing her DIY but needed some DIY therapy time, so I gave her a quick lesson, and she actually started brassing the piece that was for her, which I love. She's gonna have some DIY therapy time, leave her alone. For my first time brassing, it definitely took a lot longer than I anticipated, and it kind of deflated me, but then I have to remind myself that it is a new skill. This entire thing is a new skill, so I just had to have patience. I sat myself out by the sunset and enjoyed the process. As mentioned earlier in this video, I am partnering up with my friends over at Cricut to explore the Maker 3. I am very pumped to be able to utilize this technology just on a bunch of projects moving forward, but what I need it for right now is an iron-on cutout quote that Miss Jade actually had to cut through that says, "You belong here." So I just opened up their Cricut design space that I downloaded and started messing around within it since it was my first time, and it was very user-friendly. The Cricut Maker 3 is the ultimate smart cutting machine. It accurately cuts over 300 materials, including everything from delicate materials like fabric to thicker materials like mat board, leather, and basswood. I was originally going to use like their sticker vinyl, but I found this holographic iron-on, and I'm sorry, my whole game changed just with this single piece of material that I'm able to cut. It is so pretty. One thing that you do want to make sure to do is if you are doing the iron-on like myself, you want to ensure that the mirror little switch thing is on before you cut. That is going to make the world of difference because you need it to be a mirrored image for the iron-on. The Cricut Maker's 3 expandable suite of tools allows makers and DIYers endless possibilities with their ability to cut, draw, score, deboss, engrave, and create perforations and wavy lines, all with just one machine. Cricut is fully dedicated to expanding this suite of tools to continually add value to this machine, and even though I'm just doing the iron-on portion, a bunch of my friends have utilized the Maker 3, which you're seeing pop up on screen here. And if you want to see that physical example, well, I mean, I guess virtual because it's online, go ahead and click the card so you get their experience with the Maker 3. Not just my word for it, take my friends too.
I mean, this was super fun. I could see how addicting this can get.
Cricut has a lot of options for iron-ons and they're super easy to do.
Honestly, from personal experience working with the Cricut Maker 3, my biggest thing was the setup and the usage. And I was set up and using it and grooving within 20 minutes, and it was my first time using this machine. So that just makes me inspired and excited to be able to fully explore what this machine is capable of and to continue to use it. Because if a piece of technology is a little deflating in the beginning, I have a tendency to turn away from it, and that is not the case here. For this video, I will be using the iron-on portion of the machine, but I'm definitely going to be testing this out moving forward to see what little details I can be adding here and there. I thought this was the perfect machine to come in, do the custom quote that you will see later on in this video. But if you wanted to try out anything else, you can go on their site and buy different accessories, different startups for projects. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that you need to check out. So be sure to head over to Cricut.com to check out more of all the things, but specifically the Maker 3, which I've linked for you. To create the art that is going to go within it, it is very basic. I just had a piece of 3/4 inch plywood on hand that I cut down to size, and then I thrifted a blanket from one of my favorite shops called Pioneer Antiques. They have these really cool Free People-esque, I know that's not the proper word for the blanket, but that's the material that I saw everywhere when working at Free People, and it inspired me because it just reminded me of Jade. So I decided to wrap the piece of plywood with that blanket and simply staple it into the edges. The backer can be totally up to you. You can leave it that plain plywood, you can paint it white, you can do whatever, but I'm choosing a fabric to add some texture on top of the iron-on that we will be using from the Cricut cutout that we just did.
Okay, so I ripped off the other one off camera because I genuinely hated it, and this is a natural way to get like the fabric to fall. I already like it better. So I'm just gonna do it at a diagonal, I think. Because it seemed a little too forced before. This makes it look a little bit more like it's meant to be.
After I had the fabric how I liked it, which actually oddly took a little bit longer than anticipated, I moved forward with ironing on that holographic cutout that we did with the Cricut Maker 3. And if you have the Easy Press, which is this accessory that I just up goes into over on her channel, as well as my friend Woodbrain, they have those accessories. I wanted to show you without, because I did not have that available. I just used an iron and a towel until it completely sticked. Bada bing, bada boom. I never want my friends to get offended when I'm like gifting them something that is decorating their house or me coming over and making a little bit of an upgrade. But the first time I walked into Jade's home, I instantly saw these 2 thrifted stars, and I have 3 beautiful stars that my friend gifted me from Mexico. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to create a little installation for her here, and I need to DIY some art to kind of like pull together her space and just gift her something in general because I love her so damn much.
So I added all of this because when you stand here, you can now see the star in the lights, and then when you put, if you look in the frame, and now you can see that will be up there, and it just makes a little difference.
Oh my gosh.
If you even go up there, like, it will be right there in that negative space.
After hanging the stars and then hanging up the piece and stepping back, I kind of just tripped out that 10-foot piece of metal created the perfect size art for Miss Jade's bedroom.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It looks so good. Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what I'm saying. When you open the front door, that's what you walk into. It's perfect.
Yes!
Like you're walking in for the first time. You belong here, you belong here.
Remember that this came from one piece, a 10-foot angle iron and some elbow grease, and you can do it too. I mean, this was my first time doing it, and there are a couple things I would do differently, but like I always say, practice makes progress, so just jump in and don't judge yourself. You guys, the minute I don't want to be a hot Metz, I am, and I got injured, but we are back to the trailer in the next episode, which I am so ecstatic for, and needed to take a little bit of a beat to heal, and we are back at it again, and I wanted to thank some Patreons because a lot of you guys have been joining since I mentioned my sobriety journey. And if you guys want to read up on that, I'll link it for you down below. But I just wanted to thank Jeff, Brenda, Day, Jessica, Devon, and Jesse. Thank you guys so much for your love, support, and as always, your patience. I hope you have an incredible Thanksgiving or whatever you're doing over the holidays. I will see you soon for another DIY.